Well, hello and good morning. Welcome to the Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. I'm so glad you came. And thanks to all those tuning in on our love stream this morning. We have a great service ahead. We're going to start it off by singing a wonderful song, Sesame Street. Just pretend you're Kermit and sing along. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning and welcome to the Salt Lake Center for Spiritual Living. We're so happy you're joining us today in person or live streaming. We are a spiritual community that teaches a philosophy for daily living based on spiritual principles and practices that are universal among the world's religions. We honor all pathways by which people seek to know and connect with the divine, and we work on our individual consciousness to make the world a better place. Will you join me in saying our vision statement, which should appear on the screen? We are a thriving community where individually and together we embody and express our spiritual magnificence for the highest good of all. Thank you. We have a wonderful service planned for you today, all around the theme of living everyday wonder through creativity and boldness. Our guest speaker is Neal, and our guest musicians are Mary Otterstrom and Jimmy Ingold. Our readings and prayer will be offered by Teresa Martin, and in the back of the room holding high watch today is Farrell, okay. One of our practitioners who's trained in the art and science of affirmative prayer. And throughout the service, what he does is he sits in a place of knowing the highest and good is unfolding for us. So for announcements, there will be a celebration of life for Lorraine Horstman-Hoff this coming Saturday. That's April 30th from noon to 2. It's not in this building, however. It will be at the clubhouse at 850 East South Temple. And the family asks you to arrive early because the opening prayer will be right at noon. So again, that's this coming Saturday, celebration of life for Lorraine Horstman-Hoff. And you can get details on that from the website. And then the following Saturday, May 7th, we will be hosting World Labyrinth Day at our labyrinth in the parking lot behind our building to the south side of the building. We will be there from 11 to 2, and right at 1, we will be doing the Walk as One at 1. And this is a worldwide thing in all time zones. Everybody will be doing a walk at 1, so it'll create a ripple across the world. And the prayerful intention as people are walking is that we're sowing peace with every step. If you'd like to help staff this event, more volunteers are always welcome, and there's a sign-up sheet in the lobby for that. And if you'd like to volunteer to host other events and classes and workshops, see me or anyone in leadership, and we'll get you hooked up into the right place. And the perk about volunteering for events and workshops is you get to attend for free if they're paid workshops. And it's a lot of fun. You make friends and feel connected to the community. Reverend Myrna will be teaching a 5-week certificated class on Tuesdays starting May 10th, and it's called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. This is one of the foundational courses in the study of science of mind. So if you want to learn more about science of mind, or just have a refresher, or make some friends and have some deep, meaningful conversation, which I always want more of in my life, that's a great opportunity to do that starting May 10th. And then we have a special one-day workshop coming up on Sunday, May 15th, after the service in the afternoon. It's called To Know Oneself is the Path to Love Oneself, and it will be taught by Lane Harnicher. So you can find the details on all these events on our website, which is www.spirituallyfree.org. And of course, you can find lots more information there about who we are and what we believe, and you can sign up for our newsletter and get connected and all those good things. Next week, our 10 o'clock meditation will be led by Selena Baugh, and our speaker will be Reverend Myrna Hurst, and our guest musician next week will be Dallas Brown. So that's it for announcements. Now that you've heard a little bit about us, I'd like to welcome any first-time guests to raise their hand if they're comfortable, just so we can wave at you and acknowledge you. Say hello. Hello. Wow. 5 or 6 new friends today. Welcome. My name is Shemaine, and I want to affirm for you that something you'll hear today will be just the right thing for you to hear today and will bless your life. And I hope that you'll feel that this is a community where you can bring your whole self and be appreciated for exactly who you are, which is a beautiful expression of the divine. So welcome. So now we move into our time of centering, and our affirmative prayer practitioners, backing up. I wanted to tell you about our affirmative prayer practitioners who are here to know with you that you can create a good experience no matter what your circumstances are. And to connect with prayer practitioners, you can submit a prayer request on the website or in the prayer box in the lobby, or you can pray with a practitioner in person after service. Just look for someone wearing a purple stole around their shoulders. And now I invite you to settle in for our time of centering with a reading, a song, and a prayer. Allow the words and music to take you to that sacred space within. And I'll turn the time over to Teresa.
My reading today is from This Thing Called You by Ernest Holmes. Permanent happiness comes from a quiet contentment and inner sense of certainty, which cannot be shaken by outside conditions. Whether good or ill, the mind must reach a place where it no longer remembers the past with anxiety or looks into the future with uncertainty. If you believe in divine goodness, the loving kindness and givingness of God, and if you believe in your own soul as immortal, forever expanding, then, no matter what situation confronts you, you can be happy. Learn to be at home in the universe. No more sense of isolation. See God in everyone, the same God with a different face, the same animating principle with a different form, the same divine presence clothed in different expression. There is a fountain of life from which man can drink. He can never thirst again, because your search after this fountain that you may be immersed in, and you cannot plunge into the waters of real life unless you take everyone with you. The universe is one system. Commune with the invisible presence within you until there comes a certainty which is beyond hope. Something which enables you to see clear-eyed the future as you can see the past. God grant that you will enter into this freedom today. As I surrender to that power and presence, and listen to its voice. Listen to that prompting from the divine for the best aspects of our lives, for that which is needed, for peace in our heart, for love in our surroundings, love in our heart as well, loving humanity, loving ourselves, and surrendering to that power, that presence that prompts us. That power and presence is for our good. It supports, supplies, and sustains us. So in surrendering, I allow that voice to direct, to guide, and to be within. Giving thanks for that. I release my word. I let it be, as together we say, and so it is.
Thank you, Teresa. I just love her voice. And I love that book, This Thing Called You. It's a little book, but it's filled with wisdom. I have a personal vision to boldly be a loving presence. And of course, sometimes I fall short, but like most visions, they're just out of reach sometimes, but it's good to stretch and attempt to reach them. But I notice how that statement has influenced a lot of the decisions I've made in my life, a lot of the things that I've been able to create. Of course, this month we're finishing up on the theme of the wonder of creativity, and today we'll speak about boldness. I can't wait for you to hear Mr. Aaron Neal speak. There's a genius in boldness, as Goethe has said. So, as you think about that strong part of you, that light that can be ignited, step forward despite any little bit of fear to create the life you want to. I'm hopeful that you can get that message today. This song that we're going to sing together speaks to that beautifully. It's called Unwritten. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I am unwritten, can't read my mind, I'm undefined. I'm just beginning, the pen's in my hand, ending a plan.
Thank you. It's now my privilege to introduce our special music. Always so good to have Mary and Jimmy come and just share their amazing music. This is old-time American, it's like Get Out the Funk, but it's, back in the day. Fiddling guitar, just like you've never heard. Let's give a warm welcome back, Mary and Jimmy.
Oh, thank you so much. We always look forward to coming here. It's such a wonderful, vibrant community of people. And, you always have the best themes, which says a lot about a community, what they choose to focus on or think about from week to week. And I love the idea of creativity. I mean, that's probably not a big surprise, right? Musicians are known for being sort of creative types. And this waltz that we're going to play, it's a simple song, but even within a simple song, there's always so many opportunities to place your own voice. And that's one of the things that I love about playing with Jimmy. I'm going to put you on the spot for just a second here. Because he's always playing around with chords. He's always like, oh, what would it sound like if I put the chord here or I put the chord here? Or I wonder if I could substitute a chord. And it's just one of the ways, like this world, I think, is so beautiful and rich because of all the different people in it and how we have our own take on things, right? And how we put our own little voice into whatever we're doing. And I play the violin. A lot of times I kind of get attention, because I hog all the melodies, kind of steal all the limelight. But as you're listening today, I would encourage you to listen to what Jimmy's doing because he's done so much creative work, and it's the sometimes it's the people going underneath the surface with their creativity that really make the whole thing pop. So.
Beautiful. I love what you said, Mary. That's so true with me and Rick. I'll pick up my guitar and get out my 5 chords and polish them up and write a simple song, and then I give it to him and he turns it into real music. He makes it so interesting. It's amazing how a simple song can be so interesting and nice to listen to when you put beautiful chords underneath it. Somebody who's almost has a degree in music composition. Good skills. So I would like to introduce to you our speaker for today, our good friend Neal. And some of you might remember him as the office manager here at Center for Spiritual Living, back in the days of Reverend Barbara. And others of you know him as the founder of the Emergence Conference, which is a conference all about helping us navigate through this amazing unfolding that's happening for humanity. And he has a business background in marketing, and he also has worked for the Gaia Sangrada Retreat Center in Ecuador and still has connections there. He's currently working on a book and developing a workshop to further fulfill his mission of supporting humanity in a significant shift in consciousness. So please welcome Neal.
It's great to be here. This really is a wonderful place. Just a beautiful spirit here. It's, even though I haven't been for a while, it's been a huge blessing in my life, and so I'm grateful for everyone and grateful to be here. Grateful for everyone attending. This is a sacred space, you know. The field that's created when we gather together is really special, and this field that's happening today is unique. It's the only time it'll ever happen with these consciousness here and these beings here and what we all bring today. So I'm grateful to be here and to talk about Boldly Go. And so, you know, I thought quite a bit about this. You know, what can I say in a short period of time that could, you know, hopefully be beneficial? And, you know, the first thing I want to talk about is boldness a little bit. I kind of want to expand or maybe shift the definition a bit of what we think. I tend to think boldness is, you know, it's like it's strong and you're speaking up, and that certainly is a part of boldness. But another way that I would like to think about boldness that relates to what I'm going to talk about is boldness is often saying something different or standing for something different or standing out. And that doesn't have to be strong, that doesn't have to be vocal always, and it can be just as powerful. So as we move along, you know, I think oftentimes we all have different personalities, different strengths, different predispositions, and some people I think might think that, they don't think of themselves as bold, or I couldn't be bold, but everyone here can be bold in their own way, and it doesn't always have to be loud, it doesn't always have to be strong, you know, speaking out. But it's just speaking your truth is bold, and standing for something that stands out and that's different is bold. So what I'd like to start off with is something that I'm sure many of you are familiar with, some excerpts from the CSL Vision, the Centers for Spiritual Living Vision. We envision a world of peace and harmony, a world in which we live and grow as one global family. We envision humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence. We envision a world which has renewed emphasis on beauty, nature, and love. We envision a world that works for everyone. I've always loved that from the first time I heard a world that works for everyone. It just speaks so deeply to me, and it's so beautiful. And that really is, that CSL vision it's a bold vision. It really is. In today's world with a lot of negativity, a lot of fear, a lot of division, to hold that vision and to speak that vision and to believe in that vision and support that vision is boldness. And that's the first thing that I just want to mention, and just really how bold of a vision that is. And so It's funny. I was telling Shemaine that I spoke, a few years ago, I spoke in front of over 500 people. And then this fall, I spoke in front of about 300. And I wasn't nervous at all, either one. And I was telling Shemaine, I'm a little bit nervous today, which is kind of funny. And it struck me as kind of odd. But then I think it's because, at those, there were other speakers. People weren't coming to hear me. They were coming to, for Michael Bernard Beckwith and Byron Katie and Suzanne Giesman. And so it was funny. I got a little nervous. So I've still kind of got some butterflies today with me. I just thought that was really funny. But I think part of it too is I really do feel that I hope I can share something that really can make a difference to people. So the first thing I want to start off briefly is a little bit of my story. And I used to be hesitant to tell my story. And my stories, I just felt like, why does that really matter? And I don't want my talks to be about me. But I was contemplating that before my talk this fall, and I really I received inspiration that it was really important, that all of our stories are important, and my stories and your stories. And so I'm going to share a little story, and I want to give apologies to people that came to the Emergence Conference, because some of the themes I'm going to talk about are the same. But as I contemplated and sought inspiration on this talk, just a lot of the same things came to me to talk to. So some of you may have heard some of these stories and thoughts. So in 2020, I had a rough year, like many people did. I had the proverbial dark night of the soul. And I'm going to turn this down a bit. And, I thought that I was going to avoid that program. I thought I'm not going to have to experience that. I'd had challenges. I mean, everyone has challenges, but nothing, really to that depth. And so I didn't avoid that. It happened, many reasons. I was planning some week-long retreats in the mountains of Mexico for fall of 2020, and of course that went away. And then the woman that I was dating in a serious relationship, she decided in April, I could feel her slipping away, and she left in May. And then just COVID, even though I wasn't living in a lot of fear of it, the energy, I think we all felt it to varying degrees. So that was a really rough year, and I won't go into the details of it, but I experienced a lot of pain, a lot of depression, fear, even a part of me feeling like I didn't want to live anymore, which I'd never even experienced. So it was challenging, and I know many people had even more challenging things, but by the end of 2020, I was starting to come out of it. I was starting to feel possibility again, starting to feel some hope kind of in December. And then in January, I could just feel myself starting to come back to life. And then a really interesting thing happened to me in January. I wasn't pondering this. It's something I'd thought about before and kind of believed in and wanted to believe in, but then the events of the last year before that made me question it. And what that was the best way I can describe it is I received a transmission. It was something that just came to me about the great change, or what some people would call the great awakening. And it's the idea that, we've all heard of, that there is a new consciousness emerging, that a consciousness of love and unity and peace, and that it will transform the world dramatically, and that the world will become much different, much more beautiful, that it will become a world that works for everyone. And I just got that so strongly, a knowing, and just so many things just suddenly all made sense. And I realized that a lot of the things that are seen as evidence, some people might say evidence is against that, is actually evidence for it, and that the breakdown is necessary, and it's creating space, and the chaos creates energy, and just all these understandings. I don't have time to go into it all, but I want to try to give you some of the energy of it through my words and some other people's words. And I just got a knowing that I don't claim to know all the timelines and all the specifics. Anyone that does, I think it's probably speculation, but a lot of people have felt the energy and tuned into that energy. And I got a knowing that in my lifetime there would be really massive changes for the better, that I would look back at the end of my life and just be amazed, frankly. And not that everything would be perfect and it would all be, I believe this is a process that will take a while, but that it has begun. And so it was just so powerful. And the beautiful thing about that, I believe that and with all my soul. And the nice thing is we don't have to wait for the whole world to change. I know often I was in the pattern, I've been in the pattern before of looking out and like, oh, well, why is this way? Why is this way? And I've realized no one needs to be any different for me to feel good and to have a good life. Nothing needs to change externally for me to feel good and to have a good life. And that's true for all of us. So we don't have to wait for the whole world to change. We can create this great change in our hearts and in our minds and in our communities here and in our families, and it ripples and it spreads out. And it will, and it is already. And there will be an exponential spread where it will hit a critical mass, and I think we'll be pretty amazed at some point. So, and of course, I'm not the first person to say this. This is not my idea. It's been prophesied and foretold by many sages and spiritual masters. And I want to share a couple quotes on that from some people you may or may not know. So the interesting thing is right after I got that transmission in January, maybe a week or two later, I started seeing the Gene Keys and Richard Rudd everywhere. I don't know if you all have heard of that. It's an amazing, amazing system and teachings and transmission. It's phenomenal. And I'd heard of it before, but I didn't really get into it. I started seeing it everywhere, like emails and YouTube and people talking to me about it. And with that came a knowing that this was really significant and that I should really delve into this and commit myself to studying this, practicing this, and living this. And in fact, that would be significant for the rest of my life. So I got into it, and very quickly I realized I started reading one of the main, there's lots of points to it, but the main thesis really is this great change of humanity and how this will happen and how we can do it and how can we be a part of it and how we can discover our own gifts and contribute to it. So I was really amazed that I received this, and then a week later, it was such a blessing. So Richard Rudd is the man that he says he received it, and he's the first student of the Gene Keys. He doesn't claim to be the author. But I'm going to read a quote by him. He says, "We're living in the time of the great change, and this collective awakening has begun. The great change is a phase of evolution in which all systems within our universe will make a quantum leap into a higher dimension. This is a time period in which human awareness is moving from being self-centered to being collective. This unprecedented event is taking root within humanity, and its repercussions will continue to evolve and transform our species for many hundreds of years. It will ultimately allow us to transcend the fear and separation that has until now undermined human evolution. The result of the great change will be the gradual dawning of a new human, Homo Sanctus, the sacred human." I love those words, and I think there's a deep, profound truth to that. I'd like to read the words of one more person regarding, he doesn't call it the great change, he calls it the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. And some of you probably know who I'm speaking of, that's Charles Eisenstein. And so this is what Charles Eisenstein said in an interview that I found. He says, "I describe it as an understanding of, I'm here to serve the birth of a more beautiful world. I've caught the glimpse of the future. It was like they awoke memories of the future. It's not that I project or believe that a more beautiful world is possible. It's that I have a knowledge of it that sustains me even when my mind doubts that it is possible or practical." And so I hope you can feel some of the energy of this. I'm sure some of you have felt it before. And to really trust, the logical linear mind, there's so much complexity in the world. And oftentimes I can see how it all makes sense, and I could see it all, and then other times, but if we can trust our inner knowing, if we can trust in divine grace and divine order, it's just such a beautiful blessing. It's not that all of our challenges and problems are going to go away. There's definitely work to do, and this will be a process to move through this. But it also will, I believe, is a great adventure. And so I hope that all of you maybe received a bit of that, more of that energy, and I would ask you to contemplate it in your own heart and your own meditations, because it's such a blessing to have that knowing. So, and the CSL vision, Charles Eisenstein, Richard Rudd, it's really all telling the same story. And that's the story of unity, harmony, and what Charles Eisenstein calls inner being. And so there's another story that's being told also. It's the story of separation, the story of fear, and the story of discord. Okay? And so the question is, which story are you attuning yourself to? Because both stories are true in a way. Everyone that says the world is terrible and things are falling apart and people are awful and violence, etc., all totally true. And everyone that says the world is beautiful and we are evolving and growing and there's so much beauty in the world and people are good, all these things, all true. So one thing that really helped me in my life years back is when I just kind of stopped that debate. Is the world good? Is it bad? I want to believe it's good and hopeful, but there's all this. And I just finally realized it doesn't matter. It's all true. So really it just comes down to, what are you attuning yourself to? And, online media, entertainment, it's mostly telling the story of separation. I don't believe it's some big conspiracy theory and fake news. It's not that. It's just the way it's evolved is it's caught up in this loop of fear and separation, and it keeps telling that story over and over again. And so I don't know how we can expect to attune if we want to attune to this story of inner being, of harmony, of unity, of a world that works for everyone. I don't know how we can expect to do it if every day we're attuning to that other story. And it's really challenging. And the other problem with that other story is it's out of proportion. It's a distillation of all the terrible things into, it's like crack, it's like, you take and so it's actually not, even though there's truth in it, it's actually not accurate. It's not proportional to all the beauty that really is in the world. And a lot of people say, well, I need to be a good citizen, I need to keep up, and I don't agree with that. These have become businesses. They're for profits. I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm sure they're doing what they think is the best, and there is a purpose to it, right? We do need to know about some things, so it's not that it's all bad, but they have become a business that is vying for your attention, vying for profit. And so we don't have to do business with something that doesn't support us or doesn't support our values. I stopped in January of 2021. I just tuned out to pretty much almost all of it. I still watch YouTube, great things. I like watching spiritual videos. I like watching sports stuff. I like learning, psychology. And I if something major happens, I hear about it, and I contribute to causes that I care about. So I don't want to keep banging on about this too much, but I just think it's so important. I really do. I don't think there's ever been a time where it's so important to really realize what you're attuning to and what you're letting into your consciousness and asking, is this supporting my vision of my life and the world, or is it supporting a different vision? And so I'm sure you've heard of the idea of a media fast, social media fast online for 30 days. I would really invite you to try that and see how it feels and see if you feel the difference. So I really do think that's a vital thing. So I'd like to transition with the story, though, and to shift gears a little bit. And it's the story, so there was a man, he was a head of a large nonprofit group that did really, the details aren't important, but they did really great work and really impacted, hundreds of thousands, even millions of people. And so, he had committed his life to service and was doing great work. And then his mother-in-law fell ill, and his wife wasn't able to take care of her. And so he took a leave of absence. He took off for a little over a year, a sabbatical from his position and speaking and doing all these things. And he took care of his dying mother-in-law. And it was interesting because he said a lot of people that, no one would come out and say, well, why are you just taking care of an old woman when you could, you should be doing this? No one would say it, but he could feel kind of the energy that people are like, why would you do that? Your work's so important. you're reaching millions. And he said it just was the right thing to do. And I love that story because it really illustrates, to the universal divine mind, a million souls aren't any more important than one soul. The worth of a soul is not even the right way to think about it, because the worth of every soul is infinite. And so the reason I also tell that story is because it doesn't really matter so much what you do, but it's how you do it, and what does that mean? So let's talk a little bit about purpose. I've heard this so much from every coach, every people that work with people. It's just the common theme over and over. People saying, I don't know what my purpose, I want to find my purpose. It's become almost an obsession, and it comes from a good place, but I think in many ways it's become very limiting for us. The first thing is that, of course, it can be a trap of the mind. The mind, the protective self, the ego, some would say, that thinks we need to stay small, to stay safe. And of course, that's not really safe. But it can be a real trap of that, we're not moving forward and doing things because we're looking for this big purpose. And the second thing, of course, is for most people, it's not one grand purpose. It's many different things at many different times. And so I'm not discounting that we all have dreams. I have some really big dreams as well. But we can express our values and we can share our gifts doing anything. I'd like to share another quote about that. It's by Bergs. His name's Bergs. He's a meditation teacher. And he said, no one ever said that our dreams should not be adventures, but just don't be so fooled by them that you miss the main event. And so I thought that was a really interesting quote and maybe counterintuitive to some people. But I really believe in it because I just feel that it has almost become, I'm going to play around a little bit with limiting beliefs, right? So we've all heard the idea of a limiting belief. There's different terms for it. And there's a lot of truth in it. I want to do this, but I can't, so that's my limiting beliefs are holding me back. But I'd like to turn that on its head a little bit and have you think about it in a different way. It has become almost kind of gospel in this world that you have to be doing your passion full-time for a living and doing what you love to be fulfilled. And I would actually say that's a very limiting belief. And by no means am I telling anyone to give up your dreams or do this, but it's a limiting belief that the only way you can do it is in that way. I just don't believe that. And so I would say don't wait for your dreams to come true, to share what your gifts now. Every person here has so much to give. And I know that's kind of become a cliche, but it's really true. If you're here, you are a light. Even just the fact that you're seeking something different, you're seeking something more, you're seeking a higher consciousness, means that you are a light in this world. And so what you do matters. Every act of love and kindness matters. Every act of compassion, of grace, it all moves us closer to this vision of the world that works for everyone. And so I'm going to tell a couple stories that kind of illustrate that. It's funny because I was thinking, I had a story that I told before, and I have a personal story, and then I was thinking, I really felt like I should tell Rick's story of what he does. And Shemaine told me about it, that Rick drives the bus for UTA, and Shemaine talked about how he really just focuses on being loving and just being a presence there that is kind and compassionate, and how he doesn't have problems on his bus. A lot of other drivers do, but his presence makes such a difference. And I remember once a couple years ago, I saw Rick at Taco Bell, and I wasn't having the greatest day, and I saw him, and his presence, his love. And it was interesting because then I went and asked Shemaine, now what did Rick say about that? And he said, I'm a bold and loving presence. And I was like, oh, that's why I thought I should share this story. I thought it was so perfect that he actually says that I'm a bold and loving presence. And he is. And Rick inspires me. There's lots of people, once again, that think you have to be writing bestsellers or coaching or doing all these things that are great. But driving a bus, something simple, can be such a beautiful practice, and we can share and express our values and love and everything. I have a personal story too with that. And during the pandemic, my business went away, and the cool fun retreats in Mexico just gone like that. And so I started after a few months, I started driving DoorDash to bring in some income. And this was during my dark night of the soul. I was not doing well. But I did something simple that any of us can do, and I'm sure many of you have done, is I just made a decision that I was going to go out there, and when I'm driving, I'm going to be as kind and loving and spread as much light and love as I can, especially during that time, to the people working at restaurants that are stressed out and scared maybe of the virus. To leave it at people's doors, to knock, and you're supposed to go away so you're not close, but to always give them a smile and gratitude. And so I did that, and it really was such a beautiful practice, and it gave, I'm not saying it made all my depression, all of it go away, but it gave some meaning to my life. And actually, when I look back, that was the only time I actually felt pretty good for about 6-month stretch. And any of us can do that. We really can. And so that's one of the biggest things that I just want to convey, is to don't wait, don't think, keep those dreams alive, and then let them go when it's time to let them go, and live them and let them go. But every one of you can be a part of this. Every one of you are actually a part of this great change. And know that every act matters and every act ripples out. And I know some of these ideas aren't necessarily new, but I hope you can really feel them, because you can make anything your practice of sharing your values, sharing your vision, sharing your love. And as more and more people do that, the world starts to change more and more. And so, I just want to close with saying, that we can seemingly make the mundane meaningful by sharing our love and expressing our values daily in the world. And so I invite you all to go boldly with your love in your heart, and together let's create the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. Thank you. I'll give a prayer? Okay, I'm going to give a little prayer now. I'm supposed to do that. Okay. We come together with gratitude and thanks for this wonderful community, this wonderful opportunity to gather together as beautiful divine souls, and we affirm our divinity and we affirm our humanity. We are human, we are divine. We honor both. Both are beautiful, both are important, and we embrace all of it. And we affirm the vision, the beautiful vision of unity and peace and love. The vision that this organization stands for, the vision that we all long for. We affirm that it is possible, that not only it's possible, but it's already begun, it's happening, and we are a part of it. So we share and affirm that every day that we can know that there is a divine order to this, that there is, although it may not appear, there is good coming of it, and there is good here and now, every day. And so, bless all these beautiful divine beings, divine souls, to know that we all know the light that we have inside. And that doesn't have to be big grand gestures. It doesn't even have to be visible. No one may see it, but every act is noted. Every act makes an impact in the field of love, peace, possibility, life. So we say all these things with love and gratitude. And together we say, and so it is.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I give. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
We are so blessed, aren't we? I was just thinking about sitting backstage and looking at the service going on and thinking about how much more we do together as a community than we can do individually. You know, individually, we could stay home and watch videos on YouTube and hear interesting speakers and beautiful musicians, but there's something about coming together and being in the energy of the words and music together, and then giving each other our smiles and hugs in that energy of celebration, and looking in the faces of people that are like-minded and that see each other as our divine selves. So I want to thank you all for that. And now is our time of conscious giving. And I was listening to the talk and thinking about how all of our gifts are so important. When you come here and smile and give somebody a sincere hug, it's such a gift. It's important. And when you come to this community and give your time and talents, it's so important. It makes such a big difference. There's so many volunteers that make this all come together for us. And when we give our money, it's such an important gift. On one level, it helps to pay the rent and the utility bills, but on another level, it's a spiritual practice. It's like that book the book called Spiritual Economics talks about how if we all gave to what is important to us, to what we want more of in the world, that would grow. Just like what we put our attention on grows, what we give our money to grows. And so it's a really beautiful practice to say, this is something I value, this is something I want more of in the world, more of in my life. And I find it very profound when I engage in giving in that way, with that consciousness. So I invite you to take your gift into your hands, to your heart, to your mind. And just think about why you're moved to give, that this community means something to you, that you want it to be here to bless others as it's blessed you, and that you're just affirming that there's enough, and there's enough to give to what's important to you. If you'll say with me our giving affirmation: divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Filled with gratitude, I let this be, and so it is.
All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me.
Yes.
Oh, let's hear some more from the marvelous Mary and the what's a good adjective for Jimmy? Ginormous,
Genuine. I don't know.
Okay.
He's a very genuine person.
generous. Okay.
Generous, yes. Yes.
Oh.
Well, this tune is called Lonesome Fiddle Blues, and it's written by a man named Vassar Clements. He's one of the greatest American fiddlers of all time, and he's some people have called him the father of hillbilly jazz. I mean, you just hear those two words together, you know it's going to be good, right? And it all comes down to his background. It all comes down to where he came from, and just the genuine self that he brought to this. So he grew up listening to swing jazz on the radio because, he grew up in the 20s and that was super popular. And he grew up in the hills of the South. And so, he was a hillbilly. So there you go. So he wrote this great tune. He never played it the same twice. I'm not the improviser that Vassar Clements is, but I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna try to be bold right now, and I'm gonna play what Vassar wrote, and then in the middle I'll try to throw in my own little improv. We'll see what happens. But thanks for being here to witness my boldness and bringing positive energy to it. I know this is an audience that would be kind and safe no matter what happens. Okay, wish me luck. Thank you.
Nice. I could see the fiddle smoking a little bit. It's cool. Wow, Aaron, thank you so much. What a great talk. Yeah, thank you. If you ever get a chance to listen to Aaron and just open up a little window into his mind, there is so much there that he can talk about. A lot of it from experience, but he's just well-read and has been a spiritual thinker, I think, for a long time. And he's what they call an old soul. So just a whole lot of wisdom and love in those words. What a blessing today. And thank you, Mary and Jimmy, for great music. Thank you all for coming. Let's stand together. We're going to sing our closing song, but I have a quick announcement. There is a cell phone in the lobby that doesn't seem to belong to anybody out there. So if you're missing a cell phone, it's in the lobby. I assume it's behind the counter or on the counter. So pick that up. Don't forget your phone. Jeez. All right. I love you all. Love is my decision. Let's sing it out.